Take a Ride podcast. I'm your host here, Starks. You can find me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. I'm not here alone this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the fantasy world. I have the wingman running the three, LT the Sage. How you doing this evening, brother?
Doing good on this fine Monday, ready to talk some basketball, man, on MLK Day.
Yes, indeed. It is MLK Day. That's something we all have to take in importance and high maintenance, whatever. This episode in particular, what we're going to talk about, we're going to go actually with the faster pace offense because we got to give respect for the MLK Day, for the changes that Martin Luther King made a big assistance in the world in. We'll go through some recent games. We won't touch up on the Dynasty. Man, I keep putting Victor Oladipo out. Maybe I'll save it for the clutch shot, hopefully. We're going to try to put on the time on the 35 minutes or less. You guys check out newlifefantasy.com. Join as a member, join the mailing list, so that way when an article is dropped, you guys will receive a notification. And if you can refresh that page as well, LT, it looks like MLK, the new member of New Life Fantasy, dropped a new fantasy baseball article, so check that out. It's some great content, man, that it's like 14 minutes long, but it's that content that you need to get you that punch for your fantasy baseball. So believe it or not, breakout players that you may consider for this season. And at the same time, LT's putting the hard work behind the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that subscribe button or sub-zero that button. Hit the bell. It's dinner time. Comment below. Give us a thumbs up. It helps us to continue to let this brand grow. Make sure you guys subscribe to Take a Ride podcast. And like I said, we'll touch up on a little bit of the recent news and then at the same touch up on some of these early game slate because me and LT talked a little bit earlier. We made the ouchie and oopsie that we didn't start some players because we forgot. That's an amateur move, rookie move, but we did it. Experts make mistakes too, but we didn't start our players earlier. So with that being said, I'm ready to take people on for a ride. LT, I wanted to ask you real quick as I take the ball actually down the court here this evening. Chandler Parsons, this injury, it from what I'm hearing, it seems like it could be a potential career ender. Do you know what happened here to Parsons, man?
Yeah. So, basically with the news that came out, Chandler Parsons was in a car accident. The other vehicle has been verified as under the influence, unfortunately, and had rammed into Chandler Parsons' car. We don't know any specifics on what exactly is injured at this time, but basically he came out and said that right now the injuries he's dealing with is career ending. So it has to be something with either it has to be like a broken leg, something's broken here. I would imagine. So our prayers go out to Chandler Parsons. I used to actually, it's funny. I was just talking to Starks. I used to like Parsons, man. He used to be on my fantasy squads, and he has run into some injury issues over the years, and he was just getting back on the court actually, crazy enough, this year. So our prayers go out to Chandler Parsons. Maybe he can find somewhere within the business to continue doing his basketball and living out his passion. But here at New Life Fantasy, we reach out to him and give him all the prayers and hope as possible. Starks, you got anything on that?
Yeah, well, last thing is just like you were, speaking on Chandler Parsons, definitely prayers out there for him because this is unfortunate. Looking a little bit deeper into this, it looked like he suffered multiple severe and permanent injuries, including traumatic brain injury. That's nothing to hear. That's nothing good to hear with a disc and torn labrum. So, oh my goodness. Beautiful content.
You want me to cut that out, man, or you want to let it ride?
Please, actually, please cut that out.
Okay.
Please.
All right, good.
All right. Oh, sweet. No, it wasn't. But anyway, back to this whole situation. It is an unfortunate thing for Parsons. And like I said, we were talking about some of the regression that has happened with Parsons. And one thing that is an unfortunate thing is he was regressing over the years. It's because he was injured for most of his career, particularly. He had a couple of good seasons, but we're not going to hold too much time on it. Like I said, just like what LT said, our prayers is definitely up for him. And hopefully, as far as his health goes, whether he doesn't play in the NBA again, I just hope his health will be, fine moving forward. So moving forward here, LT, it looks like we got, another piece of information that Otto Porter, the transporter, like what we like to call him here in New Life, it looks like he doesn't have a return timetable in Chicago. And I know I had got a few listener questions like, Starks, do I drop him or do I hold him? And, I will always say is like, well, what position are you in your league in a redraft and points leagues? And I typically get more redraft and points leagues versus dynasty questions, but I invite all of it. In dynasty format, real quick, of course, you're going to hold them. Redraft and points leagues, it's tough. Like I said, it's going to go by if you're in the top of your rankings, then at that point in time, you could probably hold on to them a little bit longer. But if you need to cut bait and you're struggling to, eke out those wins, I'm going to drop him at this point since he doesn't have a timetable. LT, do you have any thoughts on the transporter here, man?
Man, you said it perfectly, man. It's very unfortunate as well with Otto. He was actually, I believe, before his injury, was keeping up his minutes, was doing decent actually on that Bulls squad. And that Bulls, I mean, they have availability for a producer as far as a scorer. So it sucks to see him not be able to get on the court there. But yeah, I agree with you on his value and what you should do with him.
All right. And we'll sift through we'll sneak into the Sage trade rumor corner there. LT, about your guy Rose, it looks like two teams is interested in him, and it's like the Lakers and Sixers. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Man, I mean, of course they're interested in Derrick Rose, man. He is one of the best six men this year. I mean, and that's all serious. He has been great coming off the bench, providing offense and those assist stats as well. So those teams are looking to bolster their bench, because benches win championships, and so they're looking to bolster that side. I can see him on the Sixers. I don't like him going to the Lakers. They have enough players already. I don't think they need any more, but I would like him to go to the Sixers. I think he'll be able to add a little bit more to that team. What do you think, Starks?
Surprisingly, I agree with you. I mean, it does make sense if he went to the Sixers because they need that bench mob, right? Mm-hmm. That bench is pretty much weaker in Philadelphia, so that makes sense for him to go there. Obviously, his value, you would think it would take it would torpedo a little bit, but I think he would still be okay in Philly. Lakers, though, that's when his value would probably get more damaged at that point in time. So we'll be on the lookout for that. So we'll go ahead and, jump into the games. Like I said, we want to go with the fast-paced offense this episode just because it's MLK Day and we want to give respect there. So one of the games I definitely want to talk about, LT, if we could jump into the the Detroit-Washington game. That was like the first game that was on that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure if me and you had players, we didn't have them all starting in that game in particular, unfortunately. Shame on us. And your boy, Derrick Rose, did pump up the volume, 8 for 21. But he did get 21 points. You'll respect that. Just looking at Detroit's side, and you could just, jump on in any moment. Suku Doumbouya, he's getting the starts. Didn't have the best game. That's okay. Tony Snell you later. I just don't like seeing that. I think Andre Drummond had got injured and maybe potentially came back in his game. Okay. But hopefully he's okay. He did have a decent game. I mean, what you do it, although it was an odd game with the 18 points and 16 rebounds. What you love is the 4 steals and 2 blocks. Derrick Rose did start. Christian Wood, it still bothers me and baffles me that he only got 12 minutes. And again, like we were saying in New Life Fantasy and even Take a Ride podcast, it's just like Christian Wood, we love him here, but it's just like, are they going to allow him to get the minutes? When he gets the minutes, he produces. When he doesn't get the minutes, this is what happens with 6 points and 5 rebounds in 12 minutes. LT, before I pass you the ball on Washington side, is there anything else you want to touch up on Detroit side?
Real quick, I know you don't like him, but Snell is a good deep league ad. I mean, he's getting the minutes. He had almost 30 minutes this game. If you need somebody who's going to produce those threes, you can't find anyone who's getting that minute production, especially with all the injuries in Detroit. So just look out for him. He's getting the minutes. So that's all I wanted to say. And then on the Washington side, Beal. The real Beal, 6 assists, 5 turnovers, 1 steal, 29 points, putting in the sharp shooting, 10 for 21. Not that bad on efficiency. And this is a blast from the past. Ian Mahimi, where's Lewis when you need him? There goes Lewis's guy, Mahimi. 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks. He had a game. And I don't know what that means for Thomas Bryant, but that makes zero sense. Maybe no, and Ian Mahimi fouled out, but Thomas Bryant still did decent. 6 for 9, 6 rebounds, 1 block, 13 points off the bench. Even Bertans, this was a weird game. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move on from that one. It was weird. A lot of their Bertans, Thomas Bryant, they all were on the bench getting 20 to 22 minutes. That's really awkward. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the OKC game in which OKC. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Starks.
I was just good. Yeah, real quick. The reason why, as far as Thomas Bryant, I think it's because they're still kind of slowing him back in. Because he came off that injury. He was out for quite a while, so that could be the case. But yeah, you got to respect the Mahimi stats. But go ahead, LT.
Yeah, that's crazy. That Mahimi stats. That might get him a gig somewhere. Just kidding. OKC. Chris Paul. I love it. Yeah, I love it Chris too. Paul is, hey man, a lot of people were doubting Chris Paul earlier in the year. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, LT, you got Chris Paul. Was it really, really getting him on the cheap?" Yes, I told you he needed time to gel with his team, learn what their strengths and weaknesses. Chris Paul's a vet. He knows how to get it done. And look where he's at. 9 for 18, 6 for 7 from the charity, 4 snipes. Look at that. Only 3 assists, but 8 rebounds, 1 block, 2 steals. He finds ways to give you value. We got SGA, had a pretty quiet game, but a double-double with the big man stats of 10 rebounds. And he also got you 3 swipes. I'll take that any day of the week. And Gallo, send him to the gallows, also had a double-double with 13 rebounds because for some odd reason, Steven Adams looks like he may have left the game early. So that sucks. So that hopefully Steven Adams is okay. Obviously, looks like there may have been an injury concern here. But as we look to the bench, the Shredder, Dennis Shredder, 9 for 16, 3 snipes. He's adding that to his repertoire this year. 4 assists, 5 rebounds, and 23 points. So you love to see it. Don't see too much on the bench area though. So that's all I got on OKC. How do you feel about Houston side, Starks?
The Houston side, before we get to the Houston side, one thing that was kind of interesting to see what OKC did was start, and this could be hooked on phonics, but Dort Lugents getting the start there. I don't know how to really take him. I'm going to do some more investigating on him in particular, but he is a guy that we just want to stay more of a lookout to see what he could do in the future. But SGA, like you've touched up on everybody, like you said, it's good to see SGA get the 10 rebounds. But on the Houston side, James Harden, 1 for 17 at that 3-point line. How does that make you feel, LT, real quick?
It makes me feel disgusted to see that kind of scoring. Like Harden, just listen. I know you're trying to prove to everyone you're not just a run in the lane and get hacked, draw fouls. But guess what? That's who you are. Be who you are. Don't be who you aren't. And you 1 for 17. Come on, Harden. You know better than that.
Yeah, that's funny. And then, or not RGA, but Russell Westbrook had a nice little triple-double. It was a good sight to see it, and pretty efficient, 16 for 24. Mm-hmm. Everybody else usage rate was just basically vacuumed by Harden and Westbrook this game. They jacked up all the shots, and to be honest, this is probably Harden's fault they lost, right? But this is going to happen. But it's always fun to see PJ Tucker, Project Pat, always get all these minutes. And just sometimes he just basically disappears. But I think one thing I want to touch up on is your boy LT. It's a good sighting. House Jr. had 3 blocks and 2 steals, 13.6 rebounds, 3 snipes. This is the stats that we're very much into, because these are the stats that counts in category leagues. And Daniel House, I hope they allow him to start. Obviously, they've been deploying Ben McLemore, but maybe Daniel House is better off the bench, or if he starts. Either way, it doesn't matter. What we're happy to say is he was dropped in a lot of leagues, so I think it's warranted at this point in time to pick him up if he's available in a shallow league, because he can provide those stats. And is there anything else you want to talk about before I move on here, LT?
No, you go. You talked about it beautifully. House party. He's getting the minutes. When he's getting 35 minutes, doesn't matter where he's coming off the bench or if he's starting, he's getting the minutes and he's producing. So you love to see it. All right, we're going to switch over to the Chicago-Milwaukee game. Not surprising, Milwaukee does win this one. And it looks like I'm going to talk about the Chicago side. And we talked up and a lot about Luke Cornett. He had a pedestrian game today, 2 for 6, 2 snipes. All of his attempts came from the 3-point line. He is a big man that loves to take that 3. 2 assists, 1 rebound, and he had 4 fouls. Maybe he was in foul trouble. But he didn't do too great. I only had 15 minutes tonight. We hope that production does go up a notch. But guess who also didn't do that great? The White Knights guy, Lauri Markkanen. Oh man, he was off the mark tonight. 2 for 11. 2 for 11. Yes, 0 from 7, doing his best Harden impression. 0 for 7 from the 3-point line. 4 for 4 from the charity. I guess that's the only reason he had even 8 points. That's crazy. 8 rebounds. Man, who was sticking him? It had to be Greek Freak, just haunting him all night long. I would imagine. Chris Dunn. Guess what Chris Dunn did? 3 steals. That's what he's all about. Steal Dundee. You love to see it. 6 for 12, 3 snipes as well. That's production that is under the radar, but is needed in those category leagues. 9 cats specifically. Zach LaVine pumping up the volume as usual. 8 for 9 from the charity, 5 rebounds, 3 steals. Ooh, he also added some stock stats. That's unusual for Mr. Levine, but he did it, and he's doing just fine. Thomas Satoransky, 3 for 11. I won't even talk about him. I don't know why he's starting. Put Kobe White in, bring that youth movement. I guess Thomas is kind of young, but Thaddeus Young. Speaking of young, Thaddeus Young, 5 for 11, 4 snipes. I don't think he's ever been a snipe artist, Starks. That's new. That's new territory for me, seeing that kind of 8 attempts. That's new. 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. You love to see it. I love to see it as well. Other than that, not too much on the back end. Starks, any Dynasty darlings getting minutes down here that you like to touch on?
No, you said it perfectly. I mean, a Dynasty guy I've always hoped that would do well is Denzel Valentine. Hopefully he does something on Valentine's Day in February, but it's unfortunate. It's just like if he gets exactly when minutes come, I mean, he definitely produces. But 2 guys I want to definitely talk about real quick is Luke Cornett. He didn't get a lot of minutes. He started. That was unfortunate. But the more of a if it's music to fantasy owners' ears, I think there's a report here. I actually meant to mention before this podcast started, but it's okay to say it now. Is that Gafford? Was it Gafford? No, was it Gafford I think it might be Wendell Carter Jr. that might be coming a lot sooner than later. So that's music to your owner's ear. So hopefully he does come back soon. If we could jump into the Milwaukee side though, LT, you did that beautifully there in Chicago. So your boy Greek Freak, he had a ho-hum triple-double, right? 28 points, 10 assists, 14 rebounds. That charity stripe, I'm going to say it like this, LT. I think, at least when I put it on the article, him against LUKA, I think his free throw shot will be a little bit better next year. I don't know why it's so much of a struggle bus, because he's taking a lot of 3-point shots and he's making them this year. But I'll leave it there. Chris Middleton, had a solid game. Wesley Snipes had a decent game too. Yeah, and then I don't really have nothing else too much more to say. The bench mob from Milwaukee is always going to be underrated and appreciated. Dante DiVincenzo, Kyle Korver just looked like he just couldn't miss a shot, and that's always good to see. And Curious George Hill, I know you have love for him, and that's all I got there, LT.
Congratulations also to my boy Greek Freak. I believe his girlfriend or fiance or wife, she is expecting. So congratulations to the Greek Freak. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and go into some more games here. There was a lot of games today. I was not expecting that. Okay, so this game just finished. Lakers get destroyed by the Boston Celtics. Wow, this is interesting. This is the new form of the rivalry, and I'll go ahead and touch up on the Lakers side of the ball. And surprise facts: Boston's one of the top defensive teams in the league, so keep that in mind. LeBron James, 5 for 12, 5 for 5 from the charity, 13 assists, 7 rebounds, still doing his thing. He did not have a great game today, but here it is. This is we were giving you the code keys yesterday with the White Knight on here. Players who have been doing great in the last week, top 100. JaVale McGee, 7 for 9, 1 snipe. Can you believe it? 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, 18 points.
Yeah.
That's this type of underneath hidden value he's been giving. Did better than Anthony Davis, who only played 22 minutes tonight, was in foul trouble. Wow, 5 fouls for Anthony Davis. That explains probably the lopsided score. Only had 4 rebounds, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. And if you own him, that's not what you wanted to see. Danny Green, pedestrian. Avery Bradley, pedestrian. Kyle Kuzma, putting in the hard work, trying to show off his skill set so he can get traded to a team so he can actually get more minutes than 23. 4 for 12, 5 for 7 from the free throw, and 1 steal. And we're going to scroll down here to Dwight Howard, 10 rebounds, barely got that double-double, but also racked up 5 fouls. So the Boston was aggressive tonight, it looks like. Starks, how do you feel about some of these Boston lines here?
Oh man, Boston went on the Boston spree or something. I mean, terrible. So I was going to say, no, it wasn't sweet. So just going on Boston here. I mean, you touched up beautifully on LA. I will say this: Jason Tatum is a man among beasts, and like you said, we don't talk about him enough. But it wasn't just him that had a good game. And the thing is about Boston, let me just go on this quick ISO. Me and LT had talked about Boston, like this team needs to be a little, I mean, obviously we know they're recognized, but I think they need to be a little bit more recognized, right? Because they're an actual team. I mean, what I mean by that is like we can think about how Golden State, they have a couple years ago, they had superstars essentially. Now, Boston doesn't have the star power like Golden State did, right? But they still have some strong power there with Kemba Walker that's finally back. Jaylen Brown, I guess you could call him a piece now, right? Mm-hmm. Gordon Hayward, the whole starting lineup is solid except for maybe, and Daniel Tice, from time to time, he'll have an okay game. So we got to respect it. Yeah, he plays his role quite well. Marcus Smart, like coming off the bench. Then you got Enes Kanter. Like this team is solid, man. And, to get off the, Juice's orange, I just want to say, I mean, everybody else in the starting lineup pretty much had a good game other than Daniel Tice. You'll take that. But like I said, Marcus Smart gets the minutes because he's out there. He's the gritty player that you need. And he's not just a gritty player, right? He does more things than just being the gritty person that he is on the court. Enes Kanter, you're not going to get defensive stats, but you give him the minutes, you'll get the offensive production. He got a double-double this game. So I'll leave it there, LT, with Boston. I will say this real quick. Do I think they have a chance to make it to the championship? I mean, I know that's a stretch because we know what Milwaukee's doing this year, but Boston needs to be recognized, I think, a little bit more. LT, any thoughts here?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. You look at the Jaylen Brown stat line. He scored 7 less points than Jason Tatum, but I almost would take his line a little bit more because of those 3 swipes he added to the game as well. 3 more assists. So Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, man, they are a tandem for sure. And that, yeah, for sure. I mean, are we not just automatically thinking it's a Boston Milwaukee Eastern Conference Finals? I'm thinking my money's on that, if anything. So, all right, we're going to go into the Sacramento Miami game that actually went into overtime. And yeah. All right. So I'm going to talk about Sacramento. We got Nemanja Bjelica, 8 for 13, 2 snipes, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 22 points. You love to see it. He played great this game with 37 minutes. I don't know if you should believe in that line or not, but also joining him is Harrison Barnes, coming in with 3 for 11, 2 snipes, 5 rebounds, and 11 points. And this is a weird one, Starks. This is why we do these and look at these games. Marvin Bagley III played center tonight. Yeah. 7 for 13, 15 rebounds. Whoa, 1 steal and 15 points. You know why they can do that? because Miami is trotting out Myers Leonard at center. That's why they can play Marvin Bagley at that position. Trust and believe that is the only reason. Buddy Hield, 42 minutes. An inefficient game, but your face. 17 out of his 19 shots were threes. Looks like Buddy Hield was putting on his Harden beard for this one for sure. Yeah. 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Very inefficient game, but it's still a good line. I can't believe I'm saying this. And then what does the Fox say? Well, the Fox says inefficient. 7 for 22, 0 for 7 from the 3-point line. 8 assists though, and 3 swipes as well. Double Bog, 5 for 15, 3 snipes. He also had a decent game. Other than that, on the bench, Dead Man Wonderland, guess what? He's still dead. 2 for 5, only 13 minutes. How far the mighty have fallen. But I'm going to switch it over. Oh, Trevor Ariza, smile. And I'm going to switch it over to Miami. Starks, over to you.
Good stuff there on the Sacramento side. Yeah, I'll just say one thing real quick on Sacramento side is like, that's interesting. Marvin Bagley playing center. Hopefully, we all know that, Myers Leonard was deployed. But listen, Sacramento, go ahead and just trot him out at center. Why not, man? Sacramento could probably be a little bit different. Obviously they don't have a winning record, so you have nothing to lose other than already losing. So getting into Miami Heat, Bam Bam Bigelow Adebayo, 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. You definitely love his assists. He didn't take a lot of shots, but that is what it is. Oh, the original guy. I've been beating the drums up all season. Kendrick Nunn. Obviously, this comes on the heels of Jimmy Butler being out. But what you love is the 43 minutes of action that he got. 7 for 17, inefficient. He made all of his charity stripes at 8, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 25 points. He had a plus 11, a plus minus rating on the court. So I think it was the second highest on the team behind Bam Bam Bigelow. Duncan Robinson, one of the White Knights specials of streams. I mean, at this point in time, you're not really streaming. You probably have him on your squad, a 3-point specialist. Off the bench, the Dragon had a solid game, although inefficient, but that's okay. This guy's a little older, but man, we can talk about Miami Heat all day, LT, but we'll leave it as. But let me say this: James Johnson,
Johnson, JJ,
man, Johnson, right? I just want to say this real quick. This guy was, I forgot. I think he used to do karate or something. I think he has a black belt in karate, something crazy like that. But it's a good sight to see. Look at that, man. He's ready. I'm just gonna say, he was a guy that. He could be like a 1-1 threat type of guy. He was always a weird, but he was a handy guy in fantasy. Hopefully that Miami finds minutes for him, but that could still be, looking at the stat line, it could still be like a prisoner of the moment type of stats. But he could produce, but Miami is just so loaded with other players, and that's all I got for Miami side there. LT, we can move right along, man.
All right, we're gonna do 2 more. We'll do a quick two more quick here. We have Toronto versus Atlanta, high scoring game. Toronto pulls out the win. Pascal Siakam coming back, playing 29 minutes. He's been playing decent since his comeback from injury. Had his 1 block, 1 steal, 6 rebounds, 6 for 7 from the charity, and 18 points. OG Anunoby, he is slowing down steam. 2 for 6, 4 rebounds. You hate to see it. 4 points. Yuck. Marc Gasol had a decent game for old man Gasol. Kyle Lowry, he had a ridiculous 3-pointer shot that I saw that was not called a foul, which definitely was a foul. But he had a weird game. 3 for 11, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 10 points. And Fred Flintstone, 4 for 11, 11 for 14 from the charity stripe, 3 swipes. There he goes. That's not Tim Hardaway Jr., by the way, folks. That's that's Fred VanVleet. I'm sorry, got me. Now we're going to Norman. Hey, Norman Osborn. Here we go. Norman Osborn. Here he is in the little speeder bike wheelchair from the future, right? Spider-Man style. Norman Osborn, 25 minutes, 7 for 14, 6 snipes, 7 for 7 from the charity, 2 swipes, 27 points. There's nothing normal about Norman Powell, and I will kick it over to you, Starks, for Atlanta.
You on one tonight. That's
Hey
some good
man,
stuff. No,
I love the speed. I
no.
love the speed.
Hey man, that speed offenses get you going. No, Norman Powell, real quick. Yeah, he's doing definitely good. Let's go ahead and get onto the Atlanta side. Cam Reddish, it's good to see him get the minutes. Trey Young, man,
Ooh.
21 attempts at that charity stripe, 18 for 21, 15 assists, dropped a 42-point burger on them. Unfortunately, it was in vain because they lost, right? Kevin Herter, he got what you still like about him is he's getting the minutes. I know a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, I'm dropping him. And a lot of people had dropped him in a lot of shallow leagues, but I'm just like, do the best you can to stay patient with him. I understood that you had to drop him maybe earlier in the season, but I'm going to be honest with you. If I had him, which I did in a lot of my leagues, I did not cut bait with him. If I did, I was able to sneak to pick him back up, but I'm feeling good. These stats doesn't look the best, but that's okay. He's getting the minutes and better days are to come. The bench mob, well, DeAndre Hunter, real quick, he's getting the minutes, but the bench mob, Jeff Teague, it looks like he's 11 minutes. Maybe, he's just coming to Atlanta, but this is what I expect. I think he's just going to be the veteran presence. Leave it there. Look, Bembry got more minutes than him. I just think Jeff Teague, he should get more minutes in the future, but maybe not this year. And we can move right along there, LT.
Yes, that's perfect. Also, John Collins had a decent game as well. Let's hope he can keep that up. We have to touch up on the Pelicans for the last game. Pelicans 126 to 116. Drew Holiday sighting.
Dirty
Drew, 12 for 18, 7 snipes. Woo! 5 for 5 from the charity, 6 rebounds. Had the 5 turnovers. You'll take it with this line. 2 steals, 1 block. 36 points from Dirty Drew. It's holiday. It isn't holiday, isn't it, Drew? It's MLK Day, and he's speaking to it. Brandon Ingram, my guy, 6 for 14, 2 snipes, 11 for 12 from the charity. Can you believe how many charity stripes he's taking?
I can't believe
he's playing so aggressive. I've watched some of that gameplay from that one game where he had like 40-something points. He is attacking he's attacking the basket relentlessly. 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, 25 points. That's a bad game for him. Crazy, right? And then Jackson Hayes got the start. But his stats look a little hazy to me. Only took 2 shots, 6 rebounds, and only 1 block. Lonzo Ball, we just talked about him. Got you those weird stats: 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 swipes, 8 points. That's exactly what I expect from him, by the way. JJ Redick, 3 for 9. I think JJ Redick's been out. I haven't seen him starting recently, but he only played 21 minutes, but he did JJ Redick stuff. Nicolo Melli, 28 minutes, 6 for 11. Piccolo, 3 points, 3 3-pointers, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 5 rebounds. And if he continues with this, keep an eye out for Melli's minutes. If he keeps it up around 30, he might be a nice little deep add in leagues. Hart, who goes there, guess what? Not here, but he did score 4 for 6, 2 snipes, and 10 points. That's all right. And that's all I got for New Orleans. Starks, if you want to touch up on Memphis or anything from New Orleans you still want to touch on.
No, man, we can go right down, but it's good to see Dirty Drew back, especially smashing everybody up. Jaren Jackson, and real quick, we did talk about, Lonzo Ball, and LT mentioned on the last episode that his value would be kind of depreciated because of Drew Holiday coming back. So if you were able to sell high on him when Drew Holiday was out, I think that would have been the best bet. But that's not to say Lonzo Ball is not a solid player. We still think he's good here. So just take that in consideration. Triple J, going into the Memphis side of things, he did well. 7 for 15, got you the rebounds, 19 points. He didn't get you any steals, but he got you 2 blocks. New England Clam Chowder, Jay Crowder, 17 minutes. He didn't do too much. Jonas Valanciunas, you're always going to get plucked with these minutes. It's frustrating, but Dylan Brooks put on a show. Almost like Corey Dillon, Cincinnati style, 12 for 25. He had 3 snipes, 4 for 5 from the charity, 9 rebounds, 2 swipes, 31 points. Ja Rule, only for the rule, baby. John Morant, 5 for 14, 9 assists. Starks, what's up? You back? Yeah. Oh, I'm back. You got that turnover nice, man. Yeah.
Hey, thanks, man.
You already hit on Ja Rule. Yeah. Hey, yeah, Ja Rule. He did his thing. Good call out there. Brandon Clark, real quick. I know there were some people who were like, oh, he could potentially be a top 60 or top 50 player. I just like, I guess it was a nice bold prediction. I think it's a little tougher, but he could potentially give you that value towards the end of the season because Memphis, what are they? Well, actually, I don't know. Memphis is trying to battle. They're 20 and 23, so he may not get a lot of time, but you like what Brandon Clark does in a dynasty format. Melton has been a solid player under the radar too. Honestly, I know you don't care for Memphis, LT, but I just got to give it what it is. I'm passing the ball there, LT.
Yeah, this is the last game we're going to touch on, but I will say I do like Ja Morant. So he is growing on me as a player, and just as a playmaker. You know, I love those feisty point guards. You know, Dame Lillard, Russell Westbrook, some of my favorite players in the league, and Ja Morant's right up there. He's been working, and that's why Memphis has been going on such a large win streak. That's why it's even more impressive. New Orleans came in and took them to school. So that's lovely to see. But that's all I have for those recent games. We can go ahead and get to the clutch shot starts.
Nice. We almost got it in the deadline time, but we're probably a few minutes over. So sorry for the poor connection on my end, guys. But we'll get to the clutch shots. LT, can you hear me right now?
Oh, I can hear you.
Perfect. So I guess I got to do the dynasty shot real quick on Victor Oladipo. Don't have his stats right now, but I will say this. I'll go on a gut logic here. I hope that he comes back. And the thing is, there was reports that he was coming back in January the 29th. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if it does, I will be definitely happy to see that because I have him in a dynasty format. But I guess it's going to be about my question is to people that own him. It could potentially be the highest moment to sell him when the word comes out he's going to debut this day. When that happens, honestly, I would put him out on the field and see or put him out on the court and see what potential players you can get back in return in a dynasty format for him, even in a redraft for points leagues, because some people are going to believe of top 25 production. That's not to say that I'm knocking him and not thinking that he can't do it, because I'm one of the original backers of Victor Oladipo, even when he had that terrible year in OKC and people were calling him a scrub and people were calling me out saying I was crazy, that he was done and he wasn't going to be a good player. Obviously, the next year when he went to Indiana, he was a top 12 player. And that was a few years ago. But it's going to be really tough for him. And it's because that quad injury, I believe, that he had, that was no joke, right? You know, we could talk about Tony Parker being out. And obviously, you know, Tony Parker was a little bit older. Well, I wouldn't say a little bit older. He was in his mid-30s, I think, when he had that injury. So we know that Dippo, I think he's like 27-ish, 28. So he relies a lot on his athleticism. His jumper has been a little bit better over the time span, but I am concerned for that in particular too. He may or may not be the same. If you're a risk taker, I am a risk taker, but for some reason it's a little bit harder for me. So what I would do is, like I said, see what you can get back in return. And I know you're probably like, well, Stark, what can I do? What type of players and value that I could potentially try? I know this sounds crazy. I mean, Dinwiddie, and as LT would say, Dinwiddle, right? Dinwiddie has been on a slow bus lately, right? Just because of Kyrie Irving. But I don't know if this report came out or not, but I don't think Kyrie played this game today. Mm-hmm. And what I mentioned on that is that, you know, Kyrie, he's already risky to play the rest of the season because we know that they're juicing that orange on him when he came back and he got all those minutes. And that was already a concern for me for this season because Brooklyn, they're going to try to make the playoffs, right? But I don't know. But anyways, getting back to this, who would I try? So Dinwiddie would be a potential grab. I'm not saying straight up, but you can get someone else back. You might even consider someone like Chris Middleton. And I know you're like, well, Starks, you might be in a taco league that trade can't be done. Listen, people are prisoners of the moment. And what I mean by that, even prisoners of the past, that nostalgia of certain players. I'm not saying that Dippo is not going to give that value back, but there's a potential that he may not give that value back this year. As far as the future goes in the dynasty format and you have him, if you're in a win now situation, I would trade him off in a dynasty format. And I don't like to say that, but that's true for at least in my gut. And I have him in a dynasty format. And I'm probably not going to do that because I don't think I'm going to win this year in a dynasty format. I'm in like a 2-year span. But if you're loaded this year, you're top 3 maybe in your dynasty format, then trade him away and get that stronger punch. Because if you're in a dynasty format, there's a good chance you're playing a deeper league in that space. Then when you do that, you can probably get 2 players back in return, or just even a 1 player, older veteran and a decent player back, and see if you can get some draft picks back. Right? Just try it. You just never know. People that are bottom in the rankings, you'd be surprised at what they are willing to take back on players. You just never know. That's all I got to say there. But for the future, the 3 to 4 year span for Dippo, I'll try to leave that for maybe the next episode. What I can try to give him projections. LT, any thoughts on that in particular, man?
I don't have any thoughts on Dippo. He is that is a hard situation to figure out because you don't know how he's going to come back, and you always going to have to take a gamble either way. Either going to gamble that he's going to come back and play close to where he was at, or you're going to take a gamble and say, I don't think he's going to be the same. And I don't think he's going to be the same player, and I need to auction him off for the highest bidder now while we are still in the unknown, because his value will drop significantly as soon as we find out who he really is. I'll go ahead and touch up on my clutch shot real quick, just for those listeners who are always loving the hype train. All aboard, choo choo. Michael Porter Jr.
Oh, wow.
has himself a game, 20 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 4 for 8 from this 3, 2 for 2, 7 for 12. And let's go ahead and jump on that hype train. He came off the bench and played this well. You love to see it. Now, is this going to change anything for his potential trade value? Maybe. But Michael Porter Jr. is looking like a player that may be better than we initially thought now that he's out there on the court. And my sage eyes tells me that Denver is going to pump up the volume on his value this year, and in the offseason make a trade, because actually he's pretty valuable to them during the playoffs as a player that can come off the bench, score. They need some production off the bench, as their bench is only struggling now because of the injuries to their first 5. So if they can hopefully get Michael Porter Jr. up to speed, he'll be an asset this year, but they may trade him off in the offseason and get some draft picks, get some different things like that. So look out for that. My sage eyes telling me they're putting them on display for you hungry owners in fantasy as well. And Karl Anthony Towns did play today, did score 28 points. Played 35 minutes. You love to see it. He's back for all those owners that were missing him. But guess what? They lost. So Cat was back, scored all those points, and they lost. They were almost better. They're almost playing better as a team without him. And that's just the facts and the truth, unfortunately. So hopefully, and again, that Naz Reid has been put to the back burner now that Cat's in the game. So hopefully for those guys in Minnesota, hopefully Karl Anthony Towns gets a trade, man, so those guys can get some production and bust out for you guys in fantasy. But that's my clutch shot for the night, Starks.
Well, maybe he loses this game, but maybe he can win a Call of Duty tonight. So
hey, man,
you guys, we thank you so much for listening in on this episode. We went in actually a little bit extra overtime, but that's okay. I'm sure you guys are used to us getting an hour episode. So you guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast, join the mailing list on newlifefantasy.com. Make sure you subscribe to the website, so that way when an article is released, you guys would be notified via text or email. Make sure you subscribe that button on YouTube that LT's putting that hard work out. Hit the bell as dinner time, comment below, give us a thumbs up. It definitely keeps the things going here in New Life Fantasy. So be on the lookout for new stuff. We're going to have a special guest here, I believe, this week. And at the same time, there's going to be some more articles. You guys can follow me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. Ask me any questions. I'll get to you at a prompt time. I'm more active on Twitter than Instagram. LT, where can they find you at, man?
Yeah, man. You guys can find me on Twitter at Sage Network X. If you have any, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask me any questions whatsoever, fantasy or not. Also, you can also reach out to the greatest writer to ever don a pencil, and that is the White Knight. Ain't done yet, and that's done with 2 N's. So make sure you remember the 2 N's. It's important. But also, I want to also give a shout out to our guy, Fantasy Central, Micah. He is putting in the hard work on our baseball articles, and they are extremely detailed orientated. If you love baseball content, the Fantasy Logician, again, at the Fantasy Logician on Twitter, he is ready. And he is ready to go on this baseball stuff, man. I know I could tell just by these articles.
Yeah,
he is ready. He is. So look out for him. If you have any baseball questions, check out his article too. That's on New Life Fantasy. Just got put up. And again, let us know how you like the content. And that's all I got. All I got tonight. Starks.
Nice, man. Yeah, Micah, he'll be on maybe potentially this week. He'll give a little bit of a splash of his thoughts, but we will give him some questions that I think he definitely understands basketball, but he's more focused on baseball and football. So yeah, it's definitely ask him questions in that content and space. You guys, we love you listeners so much. We appreciate you guys. God bless you. With that being said, have a good evening, morning, afternoon. Take a ride.